Welcome to 2D Mystery, the channel to discover the strangest mysteries on the planet. Today, we will come together to a phenomenon that has puzzled scientists for decades. The walking rock in Death Valley, USA. Stones weighing tens of kilograms move on the ground, leaving strange long trails that no one has witnessed them walking. What is really happening in the place known as the harshest land in America? Is this a natural joke, a supernatural phenomenon, or a scientific secret that has not been solved yet? Let's explore with 2D Mystery right away. Don't let the like button be lonely, don't let the share button wither, and don't let the subscribe button wait for you forever. Chapter 1: Death Valley, where life is swallowed. If there is a place on Earth that makes you feel like you're standing in the middle of another world, a place where time freezes, space twists, and all life is silently erased, it is Death Valley, also known as Death Valley in the state of California, USA. This is not just a desert. Death Valley is a sacred land of mysteries, where every grain of sand, every wind, even the scorching sun seems to whisper a story that humanity has never fully heard. This vast valley was once called by the Native American tribes with a haunting name, where the earth breathes with the heat of hell. Scenery of another planet. Close your eyes and imagine. You are standing on a flat, cracked land stretching to the horizon. Not a tree, not a bird, not a drop of water. The wind whips the sand into tiny swirls, but the wind itself seems reluctant to stay. Daytime temperatures easily exceed 130 degrees Fahrenheit, 56.7 degrees Celsius, a record set in 1913 at Furnace Creek, forcing all living things to hide or bake. This is a place where the ground feels like it's about to explode, and the sun burns not just above your head, but beneath your feet. Human footsteps leave their mark on the white salt, but hours later, the wind erases it as if you never existed. Death Valley is a place where your presence is always challenged. Racetrack Playa, stage of the impossible. Tucked away in the northwest part of the valley is a strange area called Racetrack Playa, which roughly translates to flat racetrack. But this is not a place for any human or animal races. Instead, it is the stage for a supernatural drama, where boulders weighing hundreds of characters move as if guided by an invisible hand. The ground at Racetrack Playa is a fine layer of clay mixed with mineral salts, hard as concrete when dry, but incredibly slippery when wet. In the dry season, the ground cracks into regular hexagonal patches, evoking the image of some ancient code system carved into the ground by an unknown intelligence. And it is here that one of America's oldest mysteries begins. Boulders of all shapes and sizes, from small pebbles to black boulders the size of suitcases, suddenly show long skid marks in their wake. They seem to have walked across the desert floor. From death to a whisper of life, Death Valley has long been considered a land of death, desolateness, and hopelessness. But could it be that, amidst all this silence, there exists a form of life unknown to man, a form of movement that requires no heartbeat, no brain, only time, patience, and the perfect conditions that nature rarely provides? Many scientists once thought that there was nothing mysterious here, just dry soil, falling rocks, blowing wind. But decades have passed, dozens of hypotheses have been born, and no one has been able to completely put to rest the question, why do the rocks move? And why do they leave traces as if they have consciousness? Mysterious history and rumors. The natives once believed that Racetrack Playa was where the souls of ancestors wandered to the mortal world. They recounted ancient legends of souls sealed in the rocks, and only on blood moon nights would the rocks begin to search for their ancient owners. Early American explorers who passed through Death Valley on their quest for gold also reported chilling sensations as they witnessed rocks that had changed their positions overnight. No one dared sleep alone at Racetrack Playa after witnessing the phenomenon. Some even claimed to have heard a low, metallic screeching sound as dawn approached. Land of paradoxes. Death Valley is a place where all conventional logic seems to have lost its place. Here, rocks walk. The wind blows without leaving a trace. The ground cracks but does not collapse. And in the death of plants, there are stories that keep the living watching in suspense. Those rocks don't just slide across the ground. They slide across our consciousness. Each trail they leave behind isn't just a path. It's a message from nature, from history, or perhaps from another world. And it's in this seemingly dead desert that the life of an ancient mystery still stirs. Chapter 2. The Walking Stones, Shocking Silence. This will be the part that takes viewers/readers deeper into the central phenomenon with many vivid details, with a curious and mysterious nuance, as if they were witnessing something beyond the ordinary. The Walking Stones, Shocking Silence. In a place where life almost does not exist, a strange phenomenon is silently taking place. There is no explosion, no flash of light, no obvious warning sign. But at some point, when people return to Racetrack Playa after a night or a few weeks, they discover something almost impossible. The stones have moved by themselves. How do they move? No one has ever seen the moment when the stones moved, at least in the first decades after this phenomenon was recorded. But the result is undeniable. Stones have changed positions. Some move a few meters. Others leave tracks that stretch for tens or even hundreds of meters on the dry ground. What is special is that these tracks are winding, zigzagging, sometimes changing direction suddenly, even turning back as if regretting the path they had just chosen. There are small rocks, only about 5 to 10 kilograms, but there are also large rocks weighing up to 300 kilograms, a mass that cannot be pushed away by simple wind. And even more strangely, many of the tracks behind the rocks are parallel to each other, showing that many rocks have moved at the same time, like a silent parade in the dark night. The structure of the rocks, inanimate, but acting as if conscious. Most of the rocks participating in this strange dance originate from the Dolomite mountain range surrounding Racetrack Playa. They often have sharp edges and irregular shapes, some like cubes, others like the stones in an ancient folk game. What has puzzled scientists is not their mass, but their behavior. A heavy, angular rock cannot easily roll or slide. So how can they move smoothly, leaving clear skid marks without tipping or rotating? Some even move in curves, as if avoiding an imaginary obstacle, or change direction, as if changing their minds. Are these rocks actually choosing their path? Or is there some force guiding them? An arrangement to which humans are merely bystanders? The world's first sighting, stone writings. The phenomenon was first recorded by humans around the turn of the 20th century. But it wasn't until 1948 that a geologist named Jim McAllister and his colleague Alan Agnew officially announced their discovery in a short scientific report. They didn't draw any conclusions, just quietly described the phenomenon and warned that it might be one of the strangest geological phenomena ever seen in the United States. From there, Racetrack Playa began to appear in books, science magazines, and even on supernatural television shows. But every time someone came to observe, the rock movement didn't happen. Like a shy creature, the rocks only acted when no one was looking. Over the years, researchers set up cameras, sensors, and all sorts of recording tools, all of which accidentally failed, ran out of batteries, or recorded nothing at all, which only adds to the sense that something is deliberately keeping this secret. Mysterious paths and disappearances. Over the decades, dozens of explorers, geologists, photographers, and curious people have documented the slides on the hard-packed ground. Some are straight, as if drawn with a ruler. Others snake like slithers, and some even intersect like spider webs. But the strangest thing is some of the rocks disappear. Some people return months later and can't find a rock they photographed. The trail is still there, a slide several dozen meters long, but it ends in nothingness. No old tracks, no footprints, no obstructions. It's as if the rock has disappeared into thin air. Sometimes, the old stones that had walked before suddenly returned, lying still in a new position without anyone knowing when they had moved. When silence becomes the loudest voice. There's a strange thing that everyone who has been to Racetrack Playa admits. It is very quiet. A quietness that is unnatural. Not just the absence of sound, but the absence of a sense of presence. You can stand in the middle of the desert, hear your heart beating, the sand crunching under your shoes, and still feel like you are being watched? Is this silence the voice of the phenomenon? A message that the most mysterious things do not need to be loud to attract attention. They just need to exist. A phenomenon that challenges human perception. In a modern world where humans can control satellites, map the stars, and analyze atoms, the silent movement of a few stones seems like a small thing. But it is precisely that smallness that shakes the pride of modern knowledge. Because if stones, the most inanimate things, can do things that we cannot explain, then what else in this world is silently moving that we have never noticed? The walking stones not only break the laws of physics, but also break people's confidence in current knowledge. Chapter 3. The myths when science is challenged. When a modern world is faced with the inexplicable, there are usually two responses. One is to try to apply reason. The other is to let the imagination run wild. And at Racetrack Playa, where the rocks seem to have a mind of their own, that imagination has gone very far. 1. Do spirits dwell in rocks? Since ancient times, many civilizations believed that rocks were not entirely inanimate. The ancient Incas called special rocks huacas, sacred objects that contain the spirits of ancestors or gods. The ancient Hawaiians believed in pohaku, living, listening rocks that could bless or curse. When hearing about the walking rocks in Death Valley, many Native Americans living nearby whispered, "They are not rocks. They are spirits." Legend has it that this place was once a battlefield between two tribes, and the souls of the fallen warriors turned into stones, but never rested. What's interesting is that not all the stones move. Some lie still for decades. Others constantly change positions. Just like humans, some are calm, some are constantly wandering. Is it possible that some invisible personality exists in each stone? 2. Extraterrestrials and secret experiments. Death Valley is not too far from Area 51, a name associated with many theories about aliens and unimaginable technology. Some independent researchers, especially in the ufology community, have come up with a bold idea. Racetrack Playa is a place to test low-gravity technology or remote control from extraterrestrial beings. According to them, the rocks moving without physical intervention could be the result of a localized energy field, similar to the way UFOs fly, without propellers or traditional propulsion. They also point out that in some of the rock slides, the surrounding mineral crystals appear to be magnetized, as if they have been exposed to an unknown energy flow. Another, more shocking hypothesis: the rocks are actually camouflaged observation or broadcasting devices, placed here thousands of years ago to secretly monitor humanity. Their movement is simply repositioning, like a satellite adjusting its orbit. Mainstream science says this is baseless speculation. But the question remains, why does this phenomenon only occur in this place? And why? Has no one ever seen it happen with their own eyes? 3. The fourth dimension, when matter slides out of reality. Some eccentric theoretical physicists who stand on the border between science and mysticism have suggested that this phenomenon could be a rare manifestation of the intersection of dimensions. They argue that the ground at Racetrack Playa may contain tiny tears in the fabric of space-time, where the boundary between matter and location becomes blurred. When atmospheric conditions, temperature, magnetic fields, and terrain interfere with a resonant frequency, an object located there can temporarily slide through the fourth dimension and reappear in a different location, as if it had moved on its own. The result is that the slip remains, but the movement is not witnessed. If this is true, not only rocks, but any object placed there could be teleported when the conditions are right. But why are only dolomite rocks involved in this phenomenon? Do they contain a special mineral or a code? 4. Cold War military experiment. A less popular, but still persistent, theory is that the walking rocks are actually the leftovers of a secret Cold War-era U.S. military experiment. Military officials tested sonic weapons, magnetic weapons, and remote control technology in remote deserts, particularly in Nevada and California. Was Racetrack Playa a test site for low-frequency waves or special magnetic fields? The moving rocks could have been subjected to vibrations at levels not visible to the naked eye, similar to the way iron beads on a tabletop move when a magnet is placed underneath. But if so, why did the phenomenon continue decades later, after the experiments had ended? Or is the impact still simmering? Or is there some invisible hand still operating in silence? 5. Ancient wisdom. Messages written in stone. One of the most mysterious theories comes from unorthodox archaeologists. The moving stones are a form of ancient language. They believe that if we carefully analyze the slide marks in order of time and space, we can discover a form of moving symbols, as if someone is writing messages on the ground with hundreds of kilograms of stones. With enough data, the paths of the stones can create ancient symbols, like geoglyphs or giant drawings on the ground like those in Nazca, Peru. If so, Racetrack Playa could be a giant book, and the stones are the walking pens. The biggest question, who is writing? And why in such a strange way? When we cannot explain something rationally, we start to see things that do not exist. But at Racetrack Playa, the non-existent sometimes leaves very real traces. The scientific solution, strange but not supernatural, continues the journey to discover the mystery of the phenomenon of walking rocks in Death Valley. This chapter will take you through the experimental studies, the pioneering scientists, and the turning point in 2014, when people first saw the rock moving. However, as you will see, even with the answer, the strangeness does not disappear. Chapter 4. The scientific solution, strange but not supernatural. For decades, scientists have been puzzled by the phenomenon of walking rocks at Racetrack Playa. Many people have tried camping for weeks in the middle of the dry desert just to watch for the slightest movement, but absolutely no one has seen the rock move. They left equipment, cameras, placed sensors, and still recorded nothing. Until one fateful day in 2014, when a group of scientists with incredible patience finally witnessed something no one had ever seen before. 1. The persistence of unyielding scientific minds. Two of the biggest contributors to the scientific solution were Richard Norris and James Norris, an uncle and nephew with a quirky passion for unexplainable phenomena. They were not world-renowned scientists, but they had one thing that made them stand out: limitless patience. In 2011, they started the Slithering Stones Research Initiative. They attached GPS to large rocks, set up a continuous video recording system, and set up a small weather station at Racetrack Playa. For the first 3 years, nothing happened. The rocks remained still, defying all human efforts. But Norris and his colleagues did not give up. They waited in silence, under the scorching sun, and amid skepticism from the scientific community. Then the day came. 2. December 20th, 2013, when the stones began to walk. A few days earlier, an unseasonable rainstorm had hit Death Valley. This was rare. The ground was usually as dry as ashes, but it was flooded, creating a thin layer of mud over the clay. At night, the temperature suddenly dropped below 0 degrees Celsius. A thin layer of ice formed. The next morning, the sun shone on the broken ice, creating large, thin sheets of ice, like sheets of glass floating on the surface of the playa. And then, the stones began to move. 3. The strange movement, as if being supported by someone. According to GPS and camera records, the stones slid at a speed of only about 2 to 5 meters per minute. They don't roll, they don't drag, they slide along the ground, leaving long, winding tracks behind them. No strong winds, no earthquakes, just sheets of ice, pushing the rocks along like giant ice sails. As the sun warms, the thin sheets of ice melt or break, ending their journey. The rocks stop, lying there, lifeless as before, but leaving behind a mysterious sliding trail. And so, a seemingly unsolvable mystery for thousands of years is suddenly illuminated by the light of science. 4. Mechanism analysis. Ice plus wind plus super slippery ground. After months of data analysis, Norris and his team concluded that the movement of the rocks is the result of 3 extremely rare conditions converging at the same time. The ground must be moist enough to be smooth, but not muddy. The water layer on the surface must be shallow enough to freeze, usually just a few centimeters. When the sun comes up, the thin sheets of ice must break into floaters, which can be pushed by a gentle wind. These ice sheets push the rocks in front of them, sliding smoothly as if guided by an invisible hand. They call this wind-driven ice rafts. It sounds simple, but if just one factor is wrong, for example, not enough rain, too cold, or the ground is too dry, the phenomenon will not occur. 5. But why is it still so strange? Although the scientific explanation has been established, the feeling of mystery still does not go away. Why? It does not happen every year. On average, only a few times a decade have ideal conditions. Not all the rocks move. Some rocks are next to each other, in the same conditions, but only one slides. Why? The zigzag tracks seem to have a will of their own. Some of the stones even change direction suddenly, something that is not easily explained by a purely sliding mechanism. And most importantly, for centuries, no one had seen them move until 2013, all of which makes people wonder. Has science only just revealed part of the truth? 6. The price of the explanation. Loss of mystery? Some people were disappointed when the phenomenon of walking stones was explained. They said the magic is gone. But is it really? Not really. In fact, what Norris and his team discovered is the beauty of the natural world when it perfectly combines elements to create a miracle. It is not magic. It is real magic. The magic of tiny probabilities intersecting at the right time and place. Isn't that also full of mystery? When you see a stone weighing more than 200 kilograms, sliding gently across the desert without, no matter who you touch, you will still get goosebumps, whether you know the physics behind it or not. James Norris, Behind the Silence, Things No One Dare to Publish, continues the journey to discover the mystery of the walking rock in Death Valley. Although science has found part of the answer, when the light shines, the darkness recedes deeper, and in that darkness, new questions begin to arise. Chapter 5, Behind the Silence, Things No One Dare to Publish. On the day the rocks were witnessed moving with the naked eye, it seemed like the story of centuries had come to an end. But for longtime researchers, mystery hunters, and even people living near the Mojave Desert, the scientific answer seems to be just the tip of the iceberg, because there are still too many things that don't match. 1. The invisible rock, the unrepeatable mystery. In 2007, a group of tourists recorded an image of a nearly 1 meter long rock with a groove more than 15 meters long. A huge boulder lying alone in the middle of the playa, unmistakable. 3 weeks later, another survey team returned, following the shared GPS coordinates. But nothing. No rocks, no tracks, no ice fragments. The previous slide was gone, as if it had never existed. The ground was as smooth as if someone had just erased it. An anonymous geologist who had been to the scene said bluntly, "There was no sign of impact. No rolling marks, no theft. It was just gone." 2. Traces that defy the laws of physics. Data from GPS devices attached to the rocks showed that some of the rocks changed direction almost 90 degrees in just a few seconds. It is physically impossible for a boulder to be pushed by ice and make such a sharp turn, unless there was a huge force, or something non-physical. No strong winds were recorded at the time. No ice sheet large enough to exert such pressure. And, crucially, there was no sign of humans approaching the area at that time. 3. Mysterious shadows and night vision. In some time-lapse footage from the Racetrack Playa camera, there are blurry images, fleeting movements like a shadowy figure passing across the lens at night. They appear very quickly, just one frame, and then disappear. When zoomed in, the blurry images do not show specific features, but there is clearly a standing motion. An image analyst who worked for NASA, when asked to review the video, exclaimed, "That's not a human. Not walking on legs. No infrared reflections like an animal. I don't know what it is." Those videos were not officially released. For Voices in the Night, Whispers in the Wind. Several daring explorers who have camped overnight near Racetrack Playa have reported strange experiences, hearing an indistinct voice in the distance in the middle of the night. It was not a coyote, nor was it a normal howling wind. It sounded like a human voice, whispering, repeating a sentence in an unknown language. A German explorer recounted, "I once heard someone calling my name 3 times in the middle of the night, but I was alone. No one knew I was there." The sound waves were later recorded with a specialized recording device, showing a very low sound frequency, just enough for the human brain to perceive unconsciously. This phenomenon has made many people think of the technique of infrasound, often described in mind control experiments. 5. Map from above. Racetrack Playa is a deliberate shape? Analyzing satellite imagery, an independent team from Italy discovered something strange. Racetrack Playa, in its entirety, resembles an ancient quill structure, similar to patterns found in Nazca rock art in Peru. The rock slides, when marked and connected on a 3D map, make the pattern look even more like some kind of signboard. Is this just a coincidence? Or some kind of ancient sign sent through time? An unnamed archaeologist who worked for a non-governmental research organization wrote in a leaked report, "I cannot rule out the possibility that this is a transmission station, but not in the modern technological sense that we understand. It is older, more nonlinear." 6. And then the silent ones. Here's a little-known detail. Several independent researchers who published out-of-the-box findings about the walking rocks phenomenon abruptly withdrew from the study. Their websites were taken down. Emails are no longer available. The documents they shared disappeared from the internet. An Australian geophysicist who published a paper on the magnetic anomaly at Racetrack Playa announced his retirement after a field trip in 2019 and moved to beekeeping in Tasmania. His reason: "I need to be quiet. There are things that should not be further excavated." 7. The mystery remains, and perhaps it should remain so. Although we have an explanation for the movement of the rocks, it seems we have only lifted one piece of the curtain. Unexplained anomalies, shadows in the night, and strange patterns reminiscent of ancient civilizations all make Racetrack Playa a symphony of the known and the unknown. And perhaps, as the old saying goes, some doors should be left ajar to let in a little light. If they're left wide open, sometimes you never know what might come out. Aliens and portals, where we delve into possibilities that are not part of the familiar world. Theories that are not taught in schools, but are quietly studied by non-governmental organizations and independent scholars around the world. Chapter 6. Aliens and Portals. When science fails to explain everything, the gaps are often filled with bold hypotheses. Racetrack Playa, an isolated piece of land in the middle of Death Valley, seems to have all the conditions to trigger the imagination and the primal instinct of human skepticism. Is this place not simply a barren basin, but a portal? 1. Coincidence with ancient routes on Earth. A group of independent geomagnetic researchers analyzed Racetrack Playa and found that the location of this area coincides with an energy node in the ley lines network model, a theory that the Earth has an invisible network system connecting ancient structures and anomalies. When connecting points such as the Giza pyramids, Machu Picchu, Stonehenge, the Amazon forest, and in Racetrack Playa, we get a giant polygon, almost symmetrical, surrounding the globe. Mystics believe that such nodes are where the boundaries between dimensions become thinner. In Racetrack Playa, with its absolute silence and strange phenomena, could be an active energy gate. 2. Sacred geometry. Do the slips create ancient symbols? A little-known but controversial theory among unorthodox archaeologists. The slip marks on the rocks at Racetrack Playa are not random, but form a sacred geometric pattern. A Greek researcher has superimposed the slip marks recorded over the past 15 years, and after many symmetrical rotations, he has concluded that they form the flower of life symbol, an ancient geometric figure that represents the connection of the universe. Even more strangely, this pattern is identical to the motifs found in the Temple of Osiris at Abydos, Egypt, once known as the gateway to the stars. Are the stones in Death Valley writing a language we cannot yet read? 3. Alien planetary survey equipment. Some UFO researchers have proposed a controversial theory. The stones are not stones. The internal structure of some of the stones has been scanned with ground-penetrating radar and shows uneven density, as if there are cavities or layers of material inside. Although no invasive mining has ever taken place, as it is prohibited under national park laws, a leaked report states that one stone has emitted a weak, periodic electromagnetic signal. This has led to the hypothesis that they may be ancient surveillance devices, disguised under the stone shell to probe the planet's environment. A kind of autonomous drone waiting to be reactivated, or worse, a biosensor unit to record human behavior. 4. Temporary disappearance. Have people disappeared at Racetrack Playa? At least 2 temporary disappearances in the Racetrack Playa area since the 1970s have been documented. One man is said to have disappeared from the area for 6 hours, although his GPS showed he had not left within a 300-meter radius. When he was found, he was in shock, had no memory of where he'd been, and said that everything around him went white like light, then total darkness. The other man, a professional photographer, would only say, "I went around taking pictures. When I got back to the car, the sun had set, but according to my watch, it had only been 20 minutes. His camera equipment was also faulty. All the images from that time were gray noise." 5. Messages from far away. Strange radio waves from underground. During a 2016 magnetic survey, a team from Kyoto University, Japan, picked up a type of very low-frequency, ELF, radio wave emitted from the bottom of the playa, just a few meters below the surface. The frequencies did not match any known man-made signals. What was special was that the wave cycle occurred every 24 hours, coinciding with the Earth's rotation. And only once, on the night of a full moon, the frequency doubled, accompanied by an unusually high pulse. An astrophysicist said, if there was a device that could send signals to other planets, this would be the ideal place. 6. The silent believers, Death Valley Stone worshippers. In recent years, there have been reports of a mysterious group of people coming to Racetrack Playa at night, carrying offerings, setting up rituals, and disappearing before sunrise. Traces left behind include spiral stone circles, ancient symbols similar to those of the indigenous Anasazi and Hopi cultures. These spirals were not there the morning before and disappeared a few days later. Locals call them the mute people because they never speak eye, just gesture. One person who tried to approach them said, "When I got closer, I felt a squeeze in my chest. They weren't threatening, but something made me retreat." 7. Racetrack Playa, part of a network through space-time, synthesizing decades of data. Some theorists have come up with a bold hypothesis. Racetrack Playa is not an isolated phenomenon. It is a time-space junction connected to other strange locations around the world. These intersections include Stonehenge, UK, the Gates of the Sun, Bolivia, the White Pyramid, China, the Moai on Easter Island, the Siberian Magnetic Anomaly, Tunguska. Theoretical physicists, comparing data from electromagnetic storms, found that there were space tremors that simultaneously passed through these locations during total solar eclipses. Some believe that these locations are remnants of interdimensional travel networks, or communication gateways between species. 8. And if they are, who built these gateways? The biggest question still hangs in the desert. If Racetrack Playa is indeed a space node or an ancient sensor, who put it there? An ancient civilization that disappeared? Did an alien species come to Earth millions of years ago? Or did the Earth, as a living entity, created in ways we do not yet understand? The rocks that have moved silently over the centuries, the slides that seem to be written in an unreadable language, all whisper of a mystery far greater than what the human eye can see. The mystery of underground sound, the legend of the heartbeat of the desert, where we enter a strange, inexplicable, and fascinating acoustic phenomenon that is yet to be fully explained. Chapter 7. The mystery of underground sound, the legend of the heartbeat of the desert. At Racetrack Playa, when the sun sets, when the wind stops blowing and the desert falls into absolute silence, a strange sound begins to ring. Not everyone hears it. Only those standing in the right place at the right time with a quiet enough heart can feel it. The sound is like a deep and distant beat coming from underground, as if Death Valley were breathing. 1. First recorded, the lone note in the silence. In 1997, a group of acoustic students from Stanford University came to Racetrack Playa to record the sound of desert sand winds. When they analyzed the recording, they discovered a steady low frequency that could not have been caused by a device. The sound had a rhythm similar to a heartbeat, about 60 beats per minute, but had no definite pitch, just extremely low vibrations. One engineer described it. It didn't sound like a machine, it didn't sound like a biological sound. It sounded like the echo of something alive, deep down. The phenomenon was then informally named the heartbeat of the desert. 2. Witnesses heard it with their bodies. Unlike normal sounds, this beat is not audible to the human ear, but is often felt as a vibration in the chest, neck, or down the spine. Some people describe the feeling as if they were standing near a giant organ that was playing underground. Strangely enough, some people have reported feeling sleepy, lost in time, or seeing strange images after standing for long periods of time at the racetrack at night. One woman said, "I was meditating in the middle of the playa, and when I felt the sound, I felt like I was leaving my body, and then I saw strange symbols spinning in the air." She's not the only one. 3. Infrasound frequencies and their effects on the human mind. Some scientists suspect this is a phenomenon called infrasound. Frequencies below the human hearing threshold, below 20 Hz, but can have psychological effects, causing hallucinations, paranoia, or feelings of being watched. Similar phenomena have been recorded in ancient structures such as the Great Pyramid of Cheops, the Vatican Catacombs, the Angkor Wat Temple. All have a resonance frequency below 19 Hz, which coincides with the natural resonance frequency of the human eyeball, making people feel something moving in the corner of their eyes, even though they can't see anything. Is Racetrack Playa also a natural resonance structure, or was it designed to emit that frequency thousands of years ago? 4. Underground cracks. A conduit for sound? A 2009 ground-penetrating radar survey found a network of cracks and cavities beneath the hard surface of the playa. These structures may act as acoustic resonance chambers, like giant flutes. One theory is that wind, temperature differences, and slight geological vibrations could generate infrasound waves when interacting with these cracks. However, computer simulations still cannot reproduce the regular rhythm of a heartbeat. One researcher said bluntly, "This is not the sound of stone. It has biological laws." 5. Resonance maps, connections to ancient sacred sites. An independent team of acoustic archaeologists created a global map of resonance points and found something chilling. All the places with sounds similar to the heartbeat of the desert are located on the same latitude or near the energy points on the ley lines map, including the caves in Sedona, Arizona, Lake Titicaca, where the Incas believed the gods came from, Kings Valley in Egypt, and Racetrack Playa. These locations also coincide with other places where UFOs or strange lights have been reported. Could the sounds not be random? Could they be decoy signals, something that helps other creatures elsewhere locate the Earth? 6. The sound disappears and appears according to astronomical cycles. From 2012 to 2019, an underground acoustic monitoring project recorded the heartbeat of the desert appears most strongly at the following times: spring and autumn equinoxes, total solar eclipses, when the moon reaches perigee. Astronomical researchers believe that this phenomenon is not simply natural, but maybe a cosmic resonance effect, like a string being plucked when a distant sound is heard. But the question is, who is playing the string? 7. An unsolved signal? In 2023, an international team of researchers used seismic wave measuring equipment and captured a sound pattern they suspect is the heartbeat of the desert, in the form of a series of linear pulses lasting 9 minutes, each pulse having a precise interval of 1.618 seconds, matching the golden ratio. The golden ratio The number 1.618 is a symbol of harmony in nature and ancient architecture. This coincidence led them to hypothesize, could this be not just a sound but a coded signal? A natural signal that is not random, as if someone is trying to transmit a message from the Earth across time and space. 8. The sound is like a shared dream, the strange synchronicity between witnesses. One of the most chilling findings is that the descriptions of those who hear the desert heartbeat are similar, regardless of where they come from or what culture they come from. They all see lights moving in rhythm. They all feel guided beyond the body. Some describe seeing symbols that resemble an ancient alphabet. Some even draw the same shapes, spirals, 8-pointed stars, or the eye of God in a double circle. This has made psychoanalysts interested. Does the sound activate an ancient, coded part of the human mind since the beginning of time? Or is it a whisper calling us back to a forgotten source? Chapter 7 Conclusion: When Silence Speaks. Racetrack Playa, a place that seems to be nothing but rocks, dust, and wind, contains a sound that only a quiet mind can hear. More than just a natural phenomenon, the heartbeat of the desert could be a sonic thread connecting us to the ancient past, to lost civilizations, or to the living Earth itself. And if the Earth does have a heart, it may very well be beating right beneath our feet, waiting for us to listen. The race to decode, when secret agencies get involved, where the mysterious curtain of the walking rock and the heartbeat of the desert takes a different direction. Chapter 8. The race to decode, when secret agencies get involved. As the phenomena at Racetrack Playa begin to attract the attention of not only the scientific community, but also the online community, something unexpected happens. Several independent research groups are suddenly suspended, their equipment is confiscated, and their research results are deleted from online archives. A wave of suspicion quickly arises. Is the U.S. government hiding something in this seemingly innocuous place? 1. Project Harmonic Epoch, leaked documents. In March 2020, a document was leaked from an internal NASA server, allegedly part of a top-secret project called Harmonic Epoch. According to the document, since 1999, a team from the United States Geological Survey, USGS, in conjunction with the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, has been setting up a network of underground sensors at Racetrack Playa to monitor unusual, non-tectonic underground signals. The main goal: to determine the possibility of interbiosphere and intergeosphere communication via low-frequency resonance, a previously unproven form of transmission. In short, they suspect something is broadcasting from underground or from within the Earth. 2. UFOs. The myth is no longer. Here's the strange thing. Within a 50-mile radius of Racetrack Playa, since 2001, the number of reports of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, has increased dramatically, especially on moonless nights. Locals describe spherical lights moving silently. The objects change color in a regular rhythm, matching the heartbeat of the desert perfectly. Some describe a ringing sound and a sense of time being lost. An anonymous former U.S. Air Force employee revealed, there is reason to believe that Racetrack Playa is not only the source of the signal, it is also the receiving point. An ancient relay station? A beacon? 3. The Pentagon and the silence of independent researchers. In July 2021, Dr. Marlene Rivera, an infrasonics researcher who had measured the Fibonacci-like frequencies from Racetrack, was suspended without reason. Her research papers disappeared from the university's servers overnight. A group of students supporting Rivera said, someone came to the lab with a search warrant. They weren't wearing uniforms, but they had NSA and Department of Energy badges. Since then, many other research groups have been receiving implicit warnings. Don't continue to dig deeper into the sounds of Death Valley. These events only add to the suspicion. Is there something they want to keep secret? 4. Military radar and emission shadows. A notable fact, since 2018, the Racetrack Playa area has been experiencing occasional emission shadows on radar, meaning that the radar signal is disrupted abnormally, similar to what happens around Area 51 or Cheyenne Mountain. Some theories have been put forward. There is an electromagnetic interference device buried underground. The area creates a natural energy field that can deflect waves. Or there is an unnatural object sleeping under the playa soil. If this is true, then the walking rock is just the tip of the iceberg. The thing that is breathing, emitting signals, is an underground structure so well hidden that even nature cannot detect it. 5. Ancient codes and the quest for extraterrestrial heritage. A secretive group of archaeologists on the fringes of mainstream academia, calling themselves the Living Stones, claim that the rocks at Racetrack Playa don't just slide. They arrange themselves into meaningful patterns. They found, over a 14-year period, the slides formed a repeating spiral. Some of the paths of the rocks matched the geometry of ancient Sumerian symbols. The rocks had small notches that followed a 13-day cycle, matching the Mayan Salcan calendar. To them, this was no longer a physical phenomenon. It was an ancient, intelligent signal from an unrecorded time, a language not to be read with the eyes, but to be felt with the mind. 6. Repetitive movement or periodic signal. A shocking fact about the acoustics world is that on December 21st each year, the winter solstice, some of the boulders move a full 1.6 centimeters, then stop. This was recorded by the Harmonic Epic team's ultra-precise laser system embedded in the ground before being removed. This is not a random slide, but rather a purposeful, repetitive behavior. Like a clock, a device that starts periodically, or a reminder, we're still here. 7. The new wave of control, filming, and surveillance bans. Starting in 2023, the U.S. Department of the Interior will begin restricting nighttime filming at Racetrack Playa. They cite the protection of the sensitive natural and biological landscape, but independent filmmakers say their drones are blocked as soon as they get close. Some tourists report that they see unmarked SUVs following them from a distance, especially those carrying electromagnetic field meters or seismic detectors. A couple was asked to leave the area simply because they put down a recording device. The official reason? This area isn't a dynamic geological research area, not safe for foreign devices. Coincidentally, their device was recording a repeating signal at exactly the same interval as the Schumann frequency, the natural rhythm of the Earth's vibrations. 8. The final question, who really controls the Racetrack Playa game? Putting it all together. A heartbeat-like sound, but with no apparent source. Rocks moving with an unpredictable purpose. Intervention by secret agencies. Ancient, intentional resonance. Coded signals, coinciding with the golden ratio and the ancient calendar. We are left with only one possibility that cannot be completely dismissed. Racetrack Playa could be a device, a portal, a connection, but to whom or to what, no one dares to confirm. Chapter 8, The Sealed Truth. As the rocks slide gently through the sand, they make no sound, but in that silence may echo secrets that have been sealed for thousands of years. Secrets that perhaps only those who are trying to hide them truly know. And the final question for you, who are following these mysteries, are you willing to listen, even to the things others don't want you to hear? Chapter 9, Ancient Civilizations That Knew This Secret. Clues from Egypt, Sumer, and Bolivia. As the story of the moving stones at Racetrack Playa has become increasingly popular among scientists and occultists, a question has arisen in the minds of many. Is this phenomenon really a secret that has been buried since ancient times? And if so, could ancient civilizations have known about these strange things all along? Racetrack Playa may be just one piece of a larger puzzle, where ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Sumer, and even the lost civilization of Bolivia left behind traces of their secret knowledge. 1. Ancient Egypt, the pyramids that communicated with others. Ancient Egypt, with its majestic pyramids and traces of this civilization, has long puzzled researchers. One of the most mysterious elements is the information and energy transmission system of the pyramids. Although modern science has not yet been able to satisfactorily explain why the pyramids can create strange phenomena, such as amplifying sound or transmitting energy without a power source. However, some theories suggest that the pyramids may have been giant tools for communicating with extraterrestrial civilizations. Recent studies have found that, through special frequencies, the pyramids may have generated powerful energy waves, similar to the underground signals recorded by researchers at Racetrack Playa. Interestingly, the stones at Racetrack Playa seem to be connected to a special energy structure, just like the Egyptian pyramids. They are not just simple blocks of stone, but can also be used as tools for receiving and transmitting signals. In some ancient texts, the Egyptians even mentioned subterranean messages, which may have been linked to strange astronomical events recorded by their astrologers. The Egyptian pyramid energy system, if it could indeed amplify special signals from wilderness areas like Racetrack Playa, could have been used to create a form of communication with other civilizations or even extraterrestrial beings. 2. Sumer, the ancient code of the gods and the appearance of angels. The Sumerian civilization, one of the oldest on Earth, left behind a vast trove of texts, including texts that recorded communications with distant gods. These gods were said to have given humans advanced knowledge of science, mathematics, and engineering. Ancient Sumerian texts describe these gods as beings from other planets in our star system, and they used advanced methods of communication to communicate with humans. An important point in these texts is the moving stone. Several Sumerian texts record images of giant stones moving in strange spirals across the ground, much like the phenomenon at Racetrack Playa. Scholars have hypothesized that these stones were part of a communication system that the gods used to convey messages to the Sumerians. These phenomena were not random, but were probably part of a cosmic communication network that ancient humans had access to. Interestingly, signs associated with the moving stone phenomenon also appear in ancient Sumerian images. The rock, with its traces of slides, may have been used as a map of space, like the quartz and stone structures of the Egyptian pyramids, to locate and guide those who came from far away. 3. Bolivia, the Stone Gate of the Lost Civilization. It is impossible not to mention the Stone Gate of the Sun in Bolivia in this context. This place is a highlight in the mysteries related to ancient civilizations, where the giant stones are believed to be cosmic gates. Many theories suggest that this is a tool to connect with other civilizations, or even a place where people can communicate with beings from space. Archaeologists in this area have discovered that the stones here are capable of emitting special electromagnetic signals. Like Racetrack Playa, these stones may have been used to communicate or receive signals from other worlds. This further strengthens the hypothesis that the moving stones at Racetrack Playa are not a natural phenomenon, but part of an ancient intelligent system. 4. The link between ancient civilizations and Racetrack Playa. All of this leads to an important question. Is Racetrack Playa the remnants of a cosmic communication system that ancient civilizations used? The stones are not simply stones, but maybe elements of an intelligent network that connects individuals see ancient civilization. Under the supervision of secret agencies, perhaps Racetrack Playa is not only a geological research area, but also a station or gate to connect with distant worlds. 5. Conclusion: an unsolved mystery. Stories about ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Sumer, and the remaining traces in Bolivia have painted a mysterious picture of which Racetrack Playa is just a part. The moving stones are not just a natural phenomenon, but maybe a communication tool of lost civilizations, part of a vast cosmic network that modern humans cannot explain. The stones at Racetrack Playa may just be tools for us to realize that there's knowledge that has been lost in the flow of time and space. And perhaps the most important question is not how does the stone move, but rather, why didn't we know about them sooner? With these hypotheses, we can expand the story of moving stones beyond the realm of conventional science and explore more about the connections between humans, the universe, and lost ancient civilizations. Chapter 10. Are we facing a secret that civilizations have tried to hide? like a veil covering the secrets of thousands of years ago. The phenomenon of moving stones at Racetrack Playa is not simply an unexplained trace of nature. This story has taken us on a journey through space and time, connecting the mysterious pieces between ancient civilizations and strange phenomena that modern science cannot explain. But a big question is looming before us. Could we be facing a secret that civilizations have tried to hide? A secret of cosmic power, advanced technology, or even supernatural events that could completely change the way we perceive our history. 1. The remains of a lost technology. When looking at strange phenomena like moving stones, the question inevitably arises. Could this be the remains of an ancient technology that has been lost? If these stones are not actually the product of natural elements, but the result of advanced techniques possessed by ancient civilizations, this opens a new door for a revolution in historical perception. In ancient civilizations such as Egypt and Sumer, we have seen signs of technologies that can control nature. The pyramids were not just architectural structures, but could also be tools to generate energy from natural forces. If ancient civilizations could control energy to build pyramids or create other great structures, they may have also possessed methods to move giant objects, even walking stones. The theory of this advanced lost technology is not too far-fetched. If we consider that ancient civilizations possessed knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and physics that were far beyond their time, it is entirely possible that they were able to develop mysterious technologies that we cannot fully understand. 2. Did ancient civilizations make contact with extraterrestrial objects? Many ancient texts, from Sumerian tablets to ancient Egyptian records, mention gods from distant worlds, beings who came to Earth by means they could not explain. These texts describe the gods as beings who could control the forces of nature, change the terrain, and use strange tools to move large objects. Could these gods be extraterrestrial beings? Looking at strange phenomena, such as the moving stones at Racetrack Playa, some scholars have hypothesized that ancient civilizations may have had contact with extraterrestrial beings. These beings may have shared with humans advanced technologies, which helped them build great works such as the pyramids, Stonehenge, and other mysterious structures. The moving stones may be part of the technological system that extraterrestrial beings left for humans. 3. The connection between the phenomenon of moving stones and astronomical phenomena. An important factor when studying the phenomenon of moving stones is the connection with astronomical phenomena. Racetrack Playa, with the strange traces left by the stones, seems to be a kind of natural astronomical calendar, a means to record and reflect special astronomical events. It is possible that these stones were used to record changes in the positions of planets, comets, or other cosmic phenomena that may have influenced ancient civilizations. Ancient civilizations were deeply devoted to astronomical phenomena, and many of their structures, such as the Egyptian pyramids or the megaliths in England, were built to synchronize with important astronomical events. It is possible that these moving stones were designed to store and transmit cosmic information, acting as a kind of natural astronomical clock, helping ancient people track and understand changes in the universe around them. If this hypothesis is correct, then the phenomenon of the moving stones at Racetrack Playa is not only a natural phenomenon, but may also have been a tool to track cosmic fluctuations that ancient civilizations were aware of. An interesting question is, did extraterrestrial beings teach ancient civilizations how to use these astronomical tools, and might they have tried to hide these secrets from modern humans? 4. A secret that could change our perception. With all these mysteries, the ultimate question is not just about the phenomenon of moving stones, but about what they might reveal about technology and knowledge that we have never known. Ancient civilizations, be they Egyptian, Sumerian, or other lost civilizations, may have left us people important clues, traces of cosmic knowledge that not everyone can easily understand. From pyramids to walking stones, from ancient texts to strange events that we cannot explain, all could be pieces of a bigger picture. Are the stones at Racetrack Playa just part of a cosmic technology network that ancient humans received from extraterrestrial beings? This question not only makes us look back at our own history, but also opens up opportunities to discover the untold secrets about the advancement of ancient civilizations and their connections with distant cosmic forces. Perhaps the only thing we need to do is to bravely look at the strange traces that this world has left behind and continue our journey to find answers to unsolved secrets. Conclusion: the rocks at Racetrack Playa may be just part of a larger story, an ancient secret yet to be revealed. Are we facing a technology that ancient civilizations left us? And are we on the verge of discovering mysteries that humanity has long lost?